We are doing Extra Life again this year, where you can mash buttons, roll dice, play games, and help kids along the way. I hope you'll be a part of that with us. Stick around after the video for more information. Well, my editing skills are crap, but can the same thing be said about the Orville series premiere? Stick around and find out. Bwah, 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 bwah. Bwah, bwah, bwah. Bwah, 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 bwah. Bwah, bwah. All right. I'm running out of ideas, if that wasn't obvious. Hey, I'm Peter Franson from christiangeekcentral.com and Spirit Blade Productions, here with my uncut review of the series premiere for The Orville. The synopsis on IMDb for the series reads that says, follows the crew of the not-so-functional exploratory ship and the Earth's interstellar fleet 400 years in the future. And the episode 1 synopsis, which is what I just watched, reads, in 2417, Ed Mercer is promoted to captain of the USS Orville, but his enthusiasm is dampened when his ex-wife is assigned as his first officer. Alright, so this is, if you haven't seen a trailer for it, which I definitely recommend checking out, because in my experience, the trailer ended up being very indicative of what the experience was going to be like for me, which, spoilers, I really enjoyed this. Anyway, it's both a spoof and an homage to 90s era Star Trek, mostly, the TV shows specifically. It's mostly comedy, but it does have some legit moments of classic Trek-style action, you know, so I think if you are wanting some of that, kind of like to go back to those days of classic Trek, you can get that itch scratched a little bit with this show, too. It's not just, I don't think, making fun of Star Trek of the 90s. It definitely is doing that, but there are also some moments where I'm just like, I think that these guys, they love Star Trek, you know, they love Trek of the 90s. They see its flaws and they're making fun of those things, and also just using it, you know, the parts of it that aren't flawed but that are just make a good playground for, you know, comedy. So they're using it to their own ends, but I think that there's some love that can be detected for 90s Star Trek in this show. It also has some brief but seriously handled character conflict and development. The jokes have that kind of Seth MacFarlane style of coming fast and from all, you know, random directions. So it has a similar comedic timing and nature to it of being, you know, left field fast and sometimes random and stuff of, say, Family Guy, or what are those movies about the stuffed bear? I've only seen the first one, and he did a Western once, you know. So if you're familiar with kind of like Seth MacFarlane's style of comedy, it's definitely very much in play here. Let's see here. That kind of comedy, you know, when it doesn't go too far into like kind of like the sexual humor, I really like that style of random left field coming at you fast, furious, and unexpectedly. That is a style of humor that can really trigger some laughs in me, and it definitely did as I watched this premiere. The crew of the Orville also includes these great Star Trek stereotypes like the stoic alien warrior and the arrogant doctor and the emotionless but highly intelligent kind of robot character, which could be like a Data or like a Spock, you know, type of thing. But it also has some great kind of comedic additions, like a super skilled helmsman who also is like the captain's old drinking buddy, and the XO, who is also the captain's ex-wife, and a mousy young little alien girl whose massive super strength makes her like a surprisingly great fit as the head of security. And they do some really I don't want to spoil it, you know, there's stuff in the trailer, you know, of her like knocking down stuff, but there's also this great moment where we're like, holy crap, she can do that, that's awesome, you know. So I look forward to seeing kind of what they do with that character as a comedic device. There's only one crew member that doesn't quite fit for me yet. I'm hopeful that we'll get to know him better and see what his value is for the show in the future. He's currently seems to be cast as, you know, the black guy, and a couple of his line deliveries involving slight stuttering felt kind of manufactured to me. I mean, the style of the comedy is supposed to feel, I think, kind of like at times improvisatory, and so there's stuttering and stuff like that. And his stuttering wasn't quite as convincing. It felt like I'm stuttering because it's an actor choice right now, And so it took me out of it a little bit. Felt just a little bit manufactured. But I do like some of how that character is written, and I liked a number of moments that performer gave. There were just a few things that didn't quite click, and so hopefully that's like a writing issue maybe, and they'll figure out what this specific actor is best suited to bring, and they'll write him more for that as we go forward in the future. So let's see here. Regarding the cast, I felt like it was really solid. Seth MacFarlane is the captain and is bringing his I think that's right, isn't it? I think he's not just the producer, he's like the dude. Anyway, there's somebody that I get mixed up. I think it's a Seth that I get mixed up with. Never mind. This is the part that should be edited out, but these are uncut, so whatever. I might be wrong about that. I'm almost positive I'm right, but I think it's always, I don't know. Anyway, the cast I thought was very solid. Lots of straight man, tongue-in-cheek types of humor that relies on quick timing and subtlety, and there are a couple of performances that are kind of one note, and I'm not sure if this, what this actor has to offer, because this character is so one note, and that's probably, I would guess, going to continue, but for me that's fine, because they are spoofing material that is known. 90s Star Trek is known for these very kind of one note kinds of characters, and this is also the start of a series, so characters may develop over time. We'll just have to wait and see, but I personally wouldn't need that. I get what these characters are here for. I don't need them to be layered and stuff like that. Just, make me laugh with your, as we bounce things off of your one note character. Let's see here. As far as stunts and visuals go, the sets and costumes so effectively for me evoke 90s Star Trek that it's crazy. I mean, the rooms are like perfectly brightly lit, and they're showing off the sterile, clean set design. The cameras are placed in such traditional and straightforward ways. I mean, the panning is so static and boring, it's not cinematically styled at all, like we take for granted so many weekly TV shows are today. That just wasn't how 90s Trek was for the most part. It wasn't until, I'm biased, but really Farscape started doing some really cool cinematic things, and then of course we see that continuing with shows like Battlestar Galactica and the AMC offerings in recent years. We just take for granted how cinematically the cameras are used in weekly dramas and other TV shows today, but this really is endeavoring to capture that much more static way that the camera was used in 90s Trek, and it really helps to give me that feel of a 90s Star Trek series. And then you've also got like exterior shots of the ship as it's passing or as it's going into warp, and it's stuff like that altogether goes beyond spoof for me and feels like loving nostalgia. Now maybe the mood that I'm in will change whether or not I interpret that and react to it as loving nostalgia or as funny spoof. It'll probably just really depend on subjectively where I'm at in the moment. But anyway, the visual effects also have that kind of TV budget look to them, but they look better than comedy visual effects usually do, and that's interesting because they could have gotten away. And I kind of thought for the most part in the trailer, teaser, whatever you want to call it, that I saw for this show, that okay, that looks like comedy TV budget for the most part, But that level of budget probably would have equaled about the quality of effects that you would get from, especially like early 90s Star Trek, like Star Trek The Next Generation, But these effects are, in many cases, significantly better than like early 90s Star Trek, And so there's still like some neat visuals that you can look at, at least for, TV budget stuff. I don't always comment on music and sound, but I have to comment on it here because it's one of the biggest components for me in capturing that 90s Star Trek feel. This sounds so much like Jerry Goldsmith, or I don't know if Jerry Goldsmith did the score for every episode. I know he did the main theme for Star Trek The Next Generation, and I think all the ones following that were on TV until, what you would call it, the one with Quantum Leap guy, Scott Bakula, Enterprise, yeah. But anyway, the moment-to-moment scoring, it sounds so much like 90s Trek, both in those inspiring horns moments, and also like the pleasant flute with strings moments, those music cues that segue into characters just walking down the hallway, of the ship. And it's a huge part of selling the whole vibe to me. So I really appreciate just the detail that they paid attention to in spoofing and in honoring 90s Star Trek. Well, I always try to ask myself, when I'm engaging in kind of entertainment or whatever, is there anything of worthwhile moral or philosophical or spiritual significance going on here that might stimulate worthwhile thought or conversation? In comedies, that they can only, whatever theme might be popping out, intentionally, they can only intentionally take those themes so far without really dragging it down, I think, into a heavier thing. And there is the issue of infidelity and divorce, or just more broadly, the issue of forgiveness, reconciliation, anger. The story takes place a year after a divorce between the captain and the woman who is now his XO, and you see in the very first scene what happened and her infidelity, and then they flash forward a year later. And she says that she wants to, by serving as his XO, atone in some way for her unfaithfulness to him. She really feels bad about the whole thing. And he is hanging on to his anger, understandably. The infidelity and the arguments are largely handled with a mix of humor, in the show, but there is a final argument in the episode that is given some more weight. They might be just mildly dealing with themes of reconciliation and after conflict. Biblically speaking, we can't atone. We actually can't atone for our sins. We can't make up for yesterday's sin by doing good today, because we are already obligated to do only and every good thing that we possibly can today in the first place. Likewise, we aren't entitled to hold on to our anger, because it's God's responsibility to judge, while we are commanded to forgive those who wrong us and even to love our enemies. All that said, the show isn't really trying to deal effectively with how to repair like a massively broken relationship. It's not equipped for that, and I think it knows that. In fact, it's doing a lot less overly simplistic moralizing so far than classic Trek was often prone to. So anyway, there's maybe a little bit of stuff going on there, but it's nothing that's like real intentional or that super thought-provoking. I have no idea what your tastes are in television, but if I were to be a time traveler, I would go back in time and I would say, hey Pater, dude, watch this, and plan on watching it probably every week unless it really goes south. It's precious and rare for you to find a comedy that actually makes you literally laugh, and this is one of them. So hopefully all episodes will have the nice beefy 45-minute runtime that this one did. This is one that you will be probably clicking weekly to watch. All right, those are my thoughts. I'd love to get yours. Oh wait, no, let's see here. It's rated, I forgot to mention this, it's rated TV-14. Probably for language. There's some mild locker room humor and infrequent sexually themed jokes. That's probably what the TV-14 rating is all about. There's some violence too, but I think it's probably for the language. All right, so those are my thoughts. I'd love to get yours in the comments below. Please consider supporting this channel by becoming a Spirit-Blade Insider, which grants you exclusive monthly behind-the-scenes goodies and stuff. You can find out more information on our About page over at spiritblade.com, where you can also find our audio dramas and our weekly podcast. And then after that, I hope you'll join us soon at christiangeekcentral.com as we continue to geek out and seek the truth. Once again this year, Christian Geek Central is participating in Extra Life. This is a charity that raises funds for the Children's Miracle Network of Hospitals, which provides free medical care to children whose families could otherwise not afford it. And this is very often for critical, life-saving treatment. Joining our team only requires a willingness to ask your family and friends to consider donating toward your fundraising efforts. Participants also usually do something fun and game-related to draw attention to their fundraising efforts, like a special game night at your home or your church, or like me, you could do a crazy 24-hour video gaming marathon. Now, I'm theming it around video games, but really this event can be themed around any kind of gaming, which includes both video games and tabletop games of any kind. What you do to raise funds is entirely up to you, but I would love for you to consider joining the Christian Geek Central Extra Life team. As team leader, I'll be there to help answer your questions, provide some helpful tips if I can, and just in general be your fundraising cheerleader and try to draw attention myself to your fundraising efforts. You can get more information about the event as a whole at extra-life.org. And if you choose to sign up there, be sure to select Christian Geek Central as your team so I can get in touch with you and then just help in whatever way I can. Fundraising can begin at any time, but our main push is going to be through the month of October leading up to November 4th. That's the annual Extra Life Game Day when I'll be streaming my 24-hour video gaming marathon live and trying to stay awake without throwing up like I almost did last year. More details on my live stream as we get closer to it. That's it for now. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.